Did we both just do finger guns?
Yeah, because we're the same person.
Welcome to Brain Fog Banter, where two women in the messy middle of perimenopause try to make sense of what's happening as it's happening.
We're not doctors, we're just curious, unfiltered, and figuring it out right alongside you.
Every other episode, we bring in experts to help explain the stuff our bodies never warned us about.
And the rest of the time, we're swapping stories with each other and asking way too many personal questions. So let's stumble through it together. This is Brain Fog Banter.
Okay, so this episode, we're going to talk about coming into our power in our, perimenopause, menopause stage of life.
Yes.
Creating boundaries, cultivating relationships the way we want.
Yes, on our terms. On our terms.
Yeah, our terms. Going after the career goals that we want,
Yep. What pieces of your life have shifted the most as you're coming into this next act, your power? What has changed the most for you?
My relationship with my husband has become that's way better than it's ever been. Being a parent too, that's shifted.
Why do you think it's stronger now?
Well, I think we've both shifted in our own mindsets and on our own terms and our own time, but there's like a different type of mutual respect, I guess.
Communication is stronger?
Yes, yeah. I think that's what it is. The communication is stronger. I think we've always respected each other. I don't really necessarily think that that's not what happened, but yeah, maybe just how we communicate is different. Also, Ella's older, so there's not a lot of needing to parent her a ton. So that's created time for ourselves to get to know each other all over again in a different stage of life.
I don't know if you've experienced this, but for me, I find it very refreshing when, Chris and I are doing our thing and I'm like, oh, I just love when it's him and I just love spending time with him. Not that we don't love spending time with our children, obviously, but
Obviously.
so finding opportunities to own our power in this is just so refreshing to me.
Yeah, because it's almost like discovering yourself, I guess. Again, discovering who you are. It's like discovering yourself again also creates new dynamics with your children and your partners and your friends and things like that. So that can create better, more solid relationships, I guess.
So filter out, relationships that aren't for you in this stage of life.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just things shift. I think of like our good friend who just had a baby and I wish I could see her more often.
Yeah.
But she is in the thick of it with the baby and I'm in the thick of it with, my stage of life.
Right.
So relationships, I think, tend to morph anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something, at least for me, where I feel so intentional. I've been letting the inertia control my life for a really long time. So to pause and say, what do I actually want right now?
Mm-hmm.
It is really, really empowering to say yes to this,
Yes.
no to this, more of this, less of this.
Yeah. I think sometimes when you're in different stages of your life, you don't necessarily know what you want or what you're looking for or what the future holds. So you're just in the thick of it, in the moment, trying to parent, doing the best thing. So you don't really think about other things. I think we're in a stage of our life where now we can think about like what's next, because our kids are older and they're moving on to the next phase of their life. So now we're at a point where we can think about what's next. And so I think you can really hone in on, what do I want in relationships and how do I want my future to look with the people that I have in my life?
It can be uncomfortable, like asking yourself those sort of self-reflection questions and digging a little deeper, because what if the answer is, this isn't a good fit anymore?
Yeah, and that can be
scary.
scary. That can be very scary.
When I think of who I am becoming in this stage of life, it helps balance it out. And this is going to sound conceited as hell. I don't care. I like who I'm becoming. I think I'm kind of fun. But
we're fun.
We are so fun.
And I'm so not in a place where I care what anybody thinks about what I say or who I am. Obviously, I'm not looking to offend people or walk around being a crude asshole, but also if I drop an F-bomb and you don't like it, I don't care that you don't like it.
Yeah.
It's not really my job to make sure you're comfortable. It's my job now to make sure I'm comfortable. And
Yes.
then from there, I can think of other people.
I think there's a difference between being a considerate human and not saying offensive shit to people
Yeah.
and not caring about other people's reactions to you just living your life.
Yeah.
I think that what you and I are talking about is that we are not apologizing for taking up space anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope that we can teach our kids that they can start that way sooner than before they're in their 40s.
Yeah.
Like you're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to be whoever you want to be, and you should start that like as soon as possible.
As soon as possible. Don't wait. I'm thrilled that my daughter understands that success isn't a linear path.
Mm-hmm.
And I've experienced that a lot in my life. But the difference now is that I don't actually care what people think about my path. Because I have been concerned about optics at different points in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've had about a billion different careers, I feel like. Started in the corporate world and then transitioned to education.
Yeah.
And then when I paused my career, that made me halt in my tracks. And it happened at the same time as I'm starting to experience all of these perimenopause symptoms.
Yeah.
But I still felt some pressure. I have a master's degree in education and I've spent all this money to get this degree. This is what I should be doing. But then I felt very conflicted because I liked owning my time, and you can't do that as a teacher. But I found myself caring about what other people thought. And if I go back to teaching, even though that feels right for me, they're going to think it's because I failed as a freelancer. Well, guess what? I kind of did fail as a freelancer. I wasn't able to keep it consistent. And I think that's because it wasn't the right fit for me. Teaching's great for me. I love it. I love the consistency. I love being with students. I miss that daily dose of, the littles.
If I can intervene, I don't know that I would call that a failure. I would call that trying something new and seeing how that plays into your life and how that works. And it just didn't work for you. It's not really, it's a failure if you never tried, right? Because if you never try, then you already have failed. But if you've tried and doesn't work, okay, so it's just something that didn't work. If it did work, it would be something that worked and you were successful at it. But either way, I wouldn't consider it a failure.
I love that perspective. No, I think I've mentioned this before. I used to blog. Part of my freelancing career was blogging for a podcast host. And one of her guests talked about her CV of failure. Her point was those weren't failures because each experience taught her something about who she was personally and professionally.
Exactly.
And got her to the point where she could align her career to match her life and not the other way around. And I think I've done that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was very nervous because, I worked from home for a long time and then I went back to work and I was nervous that there would be a misconception about why I was going back to work. It's really not anybody's business why I went back to work anyway, outside of the house. It's whatever works for our family. But yeah, I was definitely nervous about that. But I love it. So that's all that really matters, I guess. But you don't realize that when you're in the midst of feeling like, oh, what's everybody going to say? Or are people going to think about things behind my back? And honestly, if it were to happen now, I don't give a shit.
But here's why. Because this is my theory based on no factual evidence whatsoever. But I think that you and I were actively raising children while social media was becoming a thing. So if you think about like the generation older than us, their kids were already grown. So that was just about them playing with it and sharing information about their grandkids and then ultimately politics. And our kids have grown up with it.
Yeah.
But we know what it was like before. And then, oh, shoot, people are throwing themed birthday parties for your kids. You can't. I didn't know that because my friend Susie just posted this whole album of pictures. Oh, shoot. I better theme this. And so all of a sudden, keeping up with the Joneses was no longer your neighbors because you can
No.
see the world and
Yeah.
how people who have access to things that I didn't have access to were raising their families. And I was constantly comparing myself to everybody else. And there is great power in realizing that none of that fucking matters. None of it
Yeah.
matters.
None. Yeah.
There is power in realizing that it's nobody's fucking business why you're making the decisions that you're making and what your sort of moral priorities or value system looks like. That's up to me to decide.
Right.
And if it doesn't work for you, bye.
Yeah.
I really like that I'm getting to the point where I'm not comparing myself because I'm not making assumptions about motivations in other people.
Right. Yes. I would agree.
Yeah, which is refreshing.
It just makes anxiety not so present. Because I think if you're comparing a lot, then you feel anxious a lot because you're like, oh God, I'm not doing XYZ like this person is doing. And honestly, I just don't care anymore.
Our give a fucks are on a permanent
0.
vacation. They're
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Yeah. I just don't have it in me. And I think it's because I want to focus elsewhere. I want to focus and curate the things that I enjoy. And I don't enjoy comparing myself to other people. So
It feels icky saying no. That's another thing that I have embraced in this season of life because my time is really precious and I'm feeling time a lot lately. You know?
yes, I'd agree. Well, yeah, because it's moving faster. I think when you have older kids, things change more rapidly with them, for them, and so then it becomes more precious because you're like, she's
Precious.
about to go off to college, and we have senior year coming up, and that's gonna fly by, and then she's gonna go off to college, and so like the time that we spend together is nice. It's the same thing as like having a group chat with your kid or having a group with your family. It's me, her, and Jason in our group chat. And to have that is something that feels like a privilege.
I agree with
Right?
that. And and this might sound cheesy to some, but we're lucky to be alive and breathing right now
Yeah,
in this stage of
exactly.
life. Not everybody gets to be 44 or
No.
47 or
Yeah.
not everybody gets to experience waking up with like a massive, hip issue that didn't exist the day before.
So
Not
frustrating.
everybody gets to that point of life and we're so fortunate to be there. So let's not be the 85-year-old on her deathbed saying, "Oh, I wish I would have XYZ."
Right.
And like you said, let's show our kids that so that they don't get to be almost 50 before they figure it out.
Right.
And then maybe their kids will figure it out even sooner and we'll be so evolved as a society.
I have an example of me deciding that I'm just gonna come into my own power.
Yes, let's
So
hear it.
I have a nose ring, and
Love it.
at one point I took the nose ring out. It was catching on the mask that I wear at work, but also it was like, okay, you're 40 something. Let's probably take the nose ring out because ew, that's so old. And so I took it out for a couple of years. And then one day I was like, why am I'm not wearing it because I'm worried what other people are going to think. Why do I care what other people think? So I put it in one day and not one person has ever said anything to me about it. I was creating that in my own mind. And then I was like, I'm not going to wear it anymore. And why?
You look so hot with the nose ring.
Thank you.
No, it suits your face. And you've got this cool vibe anyway, you've got your long, luscious salt and pepper hair with your kick-ass nose ring.
I know, but it felt like very not me, I think. Or I was telling myself that it was not me. Maybe it was me. I just was like saying, oh, that's not. I probably shouldn't be doing that anymore. But why? Like, who said that?
Yes.
So the nose ring is because I'm taking up space, I guess. Putting it back feels powerful.
I love that. That's a great illustration, actually.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think that works with clothes too, like what you wear externally, for sure. Like put it on, and if it feels good, wear it, rock it. If it doesn't feel good, then change it, but don't put it on and not wear it because you're afraid somebody else is going to think that it doesn't look good, because who
Who
cares?
cares? That's exactly right. It's funny that you say that because, okay, so I get this magazine, which I am confident that just, in my head, it's old lady clothes, right?
Okay.
Except for that, I'm very drawn to them. Long, flowy skirts. I love cardigans. Remember, I
Yes.
packed two to go to the Dominican Republic. Whatever. I like cardigans. But then also sometimes I want to dress sexy. And I think that part of the power in this stage of life is me deciding what I want to look like every day.
Yes.
If I want to dress like a 16-year-old one day, I'm going to dress like a 16-year-old. If I want to dress like a 90-year-old the next day, I'm going to do that. If I want to wear cheesy printed holiday for every holiday because I'm a kindergarten teacher, I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
And I'm so good with that. And I wasn't for so long.
Same.
I'll let my cellulite hang out because I deserve to take up space. You deserve to take up space.
Yeah.
Our children and our partners and
Mhm.
everybody deserves to just be
You-
themselves.
Yes.
And I think that owning that and really deciding I like me, it's cool if you don't like me.
Mhm.
It's cool if you don't like, what I'm wearing or
Yep.
the choices that I'm making, but that doesn't have shit to do with me.
No. And
My opinion of me is what counts.
yes, exactly. For sure.
Mhm.
And I think that strong friendships with other people help that. I think in our last episode, we were talking about how, like, that sometimes you do something and you tell your friend the story, and sometimes you need your friend to say to you, like, that's not who you are. Don't just because, we were talking about your interview, and you were like, and you're telling me about it, and you're telling me how you did all these terrible things. And I'm like, that is probably not what happened, right? And it didn't, because obviously they hired you. But sometimes you need your strong friendships or partnerships, whatever. You need to be able to tell them a story and then for them to say that's not actually true. Like, I know that feels that way, but that's not real. So if you were to text me and be like, okay, this is what I'm wearing, but I feel like XYZ, I'm gonna tell you the truth and say that's just you making up a story right now. That's not actually true.
I used to ask myself, oh, is that in style? Is that age appropriate? Is that
Mhm.
who the fuck cares?
I know,
Who
right?
cares?
Nobody cares.
It's anything goes. Anything goes at this age. And guess what? It can happen all through life.
Yes. I think there's a good chunk of period of time where I bought mostly black shirts because, that's what makes you look thinner. So everything was black. And I'm like, no, I'm adding color to my wardrobe from now on. Hence this
And you
very
look
bright pink
so good
sweatshirt.
in those brights. It
Thank
brings
you.
out your eyes.
Thank you.
And I feel like when you wear bright clothes, it brings it out.
Yeah. And I think it makes me feel better than just wearing black. Wearing black clothes now all the time. I'll still wear black, but almost makes me feel like I need to push myself down, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Like, minimalize myself instead of just wear the bright clothes and be exactly who you want to be. Because who cares?
Right. I don't want to draw attention to myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to seem like I'm trying too hard. Because here's the truth that I wish I would have really, really embraced younger.
Mhm.
Someone is going to have an opinion about
Mhm.
something that you're doing, saying, wearing,
Mhm.
no matter what. Even if you do things that you feel are the perfection doesn't exist.
Yes.
People are going to have their opinions anyway. And the opinions that matter are the ones inside of your own head and heart.
Yeah.
And then you surround yourself with people who are your champion
Mhm.
and not. I watch reality TV, and
That is like my favorite thing to watch.
it's not even a guilty pleasure because I don't care who knows. And
Yeah,
I
no.
just finishing up. Have you been watching The Secret Life of Mormon's
I
Wife?
haven't gotten to that yet. It's on my list.
Okay. So I'm not going to spoil anything,
Okay.
but it's a mess. It's messy. It's the messiest reality show I've seen in a very long time.
Worse than
actually.
Housewives?
Yes, because every other thing is talking about their faith, but the way they treat each other isn't what I imagine, like whoever founded the Mormon church, that wasn't what he was going.
That's not what they were thinking. Right.
Yeah. But there was this moment where they're on the episode we watched yesterday where they're talking about like social media and everybody sent this girl texts, to congratulate her on something, but they didn't comment on social media. And, it has to be in both places, and you're doing this wrong and you're doing this wrong, and asking for everybody to validate what you're trying to do. None of that matters.
Right.
When we are dead and buried and our souls are wherever they go at the end of this life, I hope heaven, then none of this podcast, well, maybe this podcast will matter to someone, but
It'll live on.
Nobody,
Our kids. It'll
our
matter
kids,
to our
it'll matter to our
children.
kids. And who else in our world matters more than our children and our partners and our family, both chosen and blood?
Right, exactly.
Well, I'm excited. I
There
love
was
this.
there's a girl at work, and she was talking to me the other day, and she said that she was talking about her appearance and some dislikes that she had. And I was like, I understand because I have my own dislikes, but just know there's always somebody out there looking at you thinking you're perfect. And she was like, oh, you're right. I never thought about it like that. And I was like, yeah. So just, tell yourself that, because sometimes that's what we think. We're so hard on ourselves for no reason, but there might be somebody out there that's looking at you thinking, you're so cool, but you don't know that because they're not going to tell you.
That was a good advice that you gave to your coworker, and an illustration that accompanies that, the interview that you just brought up. I walked away thinking there's no way that they could think anything other than she is a spaz and so awkward. But she said, you really wowed us in the interview. And I thought, that's so kind, first of all, to share that with me.
Yeah.
Because I felt so vulnerable in that moment. And also, what a waste of time to care, not to care, but what a waste of time to worry about how awkward I was. That's me. I'm a little awkward. I have an energy about me that's a little bit spastic sometimes.
I feel like everybody does at some
Yes.
point. It's just that I think some people aren't as vulnerable as others, and so you don't always see other people's spastic because they rein it in because they're worried. Because it feels uncomfortable. So you're worried that somebody else is going to think, oh God, I'm crazy. Even though they probably have spastic times too.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
So I feel grateful to have you, and Jackson actually said the sweetest thing last night. He and I we had the best talk, and he's such a honey. And I brought you up. I said, it's my sincere hope that you and Lily both find people in your life like Jen, that love you and support you and will go on these crazy adventures with you just because they like who you are exactly as you are, and they're not trying to suppress that.
Yeah.
It's just like the sweetest observation. I'm like, well, it's because I feel like she's my sister. I feel really just supported by her. He sees it. And our relationships, like our friendships, our partnerships, they're watching. Our kids are watching us.
They are
like,
watching
how do we let
us.
people treat us, and how do we treat ourselves?
Yeah. Yes, I will say this too. I have watched my own child make decisions about friendships and things, and have learned from her being like, she's very decisive about what she accepts and what she doesn't accept, and not who I was as a kid. I did not, that is just not at her age, especially. So anyway, I think we learn a lot from them too. And so that I think is also, I don't know, it's life changing.
You're totally right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think of everything that Lily has taught me,
Yeah.
I'm constantly asking her questions like, what do you think about this? Well, how would you handle this? Because she has something that I've never had. She was born with the, this is who I fucking am, deal with it or don't. She's not apologizing for taking up space.
Right, exactly.
And that is very refreshing to me. Also, she has great like makeup tips and
She's gorgeous.
skincare. Yeah.
Also, she's very cool dresser.
I love her style.
Yeah.
She inspires me too. And then Jackson, inspires me so much with the way he just interacts with the world. He has been pushed down by others so much, and he doesn't let it. He boing.
I
right
know.
back up. Boing. He's like, no, I don't believe you. That's not who I am. I know who I am. You don't know who I am.
Yes, which is those are all amazing qualities.
So
Yeah.
I love that we're owning our power.
Yeah.
I love that this podcast is part of us owning our power.
Yes, and if you're listening, you figure out how you're owning your power. Think about it. Let us
Yes.
know.
I
It's
mean,
not everybody's owning their power looks the same.
And if you're not, what do you need to do that? What's is one thing that you can do today to take up more space and be okay
Mhm.
with it?
Yes. And maybe if you do that and you like it, figure out how to practice it more.
Yes.
You know,
And
like,
it's a practice.
it for sure is. And it is uncomfortable at first. It's uncomfortable. Gives me the sweats. Sometimes I have to go to the bathroom more than I like.
Nervous poops. Listen, yogurt helps with that, actually. Probiotics, it's a thing. Look it up. Jen doesn't know shit about that, so come to me. I'll talk to you about it.
I know nothing.
Yeah, sure. I guess I just want to say that like it's a decision. You have to keep making it because there are still days when I wake up and feel insecure AF or, like
Yes.
the interview, I felt very insecure because there's still going to be situations where you are trying something new or you're in a situation that doesn't feel comfy to you.
Mhm.
It doesn't fix it entirely, but the more you make the decision, the more you just naturally are in that space. And I think that it is maybe my favorite thing so far about being in the messy middle.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
The messy middle. I love that.
Me too. Well, Jen, as always, it's a blast talking to you. And I don't know. This is just such a liberating exercise for me.
I know, right? This is like everybody should do this.
I know. Like, if you're listening, start a podcast. If you want to know how,
We can
probably
give you
not tell you.
tips,
Ask
but
Jen.
like we're definitely not pros at this.
God,
We
it's
wing
really
it
hard.
every week or every time we do this.
I know, and that we did the training and like whatever. We're like, we know what we're doing, and it is still Hot Mess Express most of the
Every
time.
time.
And
Mhm.
that's okay.
It's
Well,
totally okay.
I'm proud of
accept it.
us, and
Me
we're gonna
too.
keep leaning into our power,
Let's do it.
living out loud, and I hope the same for anyone who might be listening to this.
Exactly.
Yay.
Peace out.
Love and light.
Thanks for hanging out with us in the fog today.
If you had a laugh, learned something new, or just felt a little more seen,
Go ahead and follow the show.
show.
You can also leave us a review, share this episode with a friend, or slide into our DMs with your own midlife mayhem.
We're here for it. All of it.
Catch you next time on Brain Fog Banter.